Crypto investors are facing uncertainty as Bitcoin experiences some serious volatility despite this week's ups and downs. Currency's market value is still down about 50% from its peak last November.
The Fed's interest rate hikes, inflation, and recession fears have caused the stock market as a whole to tumble, and things show no signs of getting better anytime soon. Joining us now to weigh in is one of our favorite crypto commentators, associate editor at Reason Magazine, Liz Wolfe. Welcome, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
So what is causing this market volatility right now? Can you unpack that a little bit for us who are not so crypto savvy?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been in a period of extreme crypto hype. We saw this with the degree to which traditional investors really flocked toward crypto, the degree to which Coinbase really caught on. I mean, tons of Americans now have Coinbase accounts. It really permeated the sort of discourse. We even saw this with NFTs and the sort of like moment when like Justin Bieber was buying into Bored Ape NFTs. Like years ago, maybe even just 3 years ago, this is not something that had any sort of mainstream purchase. And in the last year or so, we have seen it really gather and garner a lot of popularity. So I think some of this volatility is going to be normal. And I think people panicking and trying to exit is probably the wrong approach.
Yeah, I saw Sagar Enjeti, former host of this show, at Breaking Points. He tweeted, anytime I see a story about how Bitcoin crashed to 30,000, I can't even believe it because I was sharing moon memes at like 9,000 and at 15 I was losing my mind. So his point being like even when it was much less than what it is now, even after having crashed, it was still a really exciting thing. So we should keep that in perspective, right?
Yeah, well, one thing that I think is really interesting is like the timing of this is especially bad because this comes on the heels of Coinbase's regulatory filing, which Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, was talking about a little bit on Twitter. But I think the regulatory filing basically said something along the lines of, in the event of Coinbase, this intermediary, this exchange, declaring bankruptcy, customers' cryptocurrency may not be protected the way that a traditional bank would protect customers' funds if they declared bankruptcy. A lot of this is a function of the regulatory framework and the way the U.S. government treats crypto exchanges. It's a very green territory, and so they're treated differently than banks are. But I think a lot of people saw this coupled with Coinbase's sort of slightly depressed earnings reports and said, oh God, the crypto bubble is bursting, everything's crashing. What they're missing from this is that the Coinbase executives have been preparing for this type of thing for a long time. This is a standard regulatory filing. This is part of why Coinbase has really been amassing really massive cash and crypto reserves to prepare for events like this and to ensure their customers' safety. And it's also like one of the reasons why customers need to be considering the trade-offs very closely, because when you decide to put your cryptocurrency into an intermediary that faces regulatory scrutiny like Coinbase, you are necessarily compromising some of the security of those funds. You can always put your cryptocurrency in an offline wallet or a more private wallet. But fundamentally, what you're doing is you're making a trade-off for the sake of ease and convenience. And so Coinbase customers are slightly less protected than more savvy and more ultra tech-minded sort of like offline crypto users. And so that's not a bug. That's not a problem with cryptocurrency. That's a problem with the intermediaries that people are flocking toward.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot more, I think, interest from people on Capitol Hill, from political figures in what is the right approach to regulate crypto, and or does it need to be destroy? That's what some, I think, political leaders want. I think that would be bad. Crypto isn't going away. It's a promising and interesting technology to foster a greater sense, I think, of privacy on the internet in financial transactions. So if it's going to be regulated, it has to be regulated carefully and delicately. What are you seeing in the future with respect to how Congress is going to approach this technology?
I think Congress is approaching it in a very clumsy and foolhardy way, and I understand why, right? Like, this is something that's incredibly buzzy right now, and I think a lot of people look at the crypto space and they see crazy crypto bros and they sort of see there's an implication, there's a strain in a lot of this discourse that almost assumes that crypto is some sort of get rich quick scheme. And people are entering with the expectation of getting crazy, unheard of returns, 20%, 30% after merely a year or 2 years of being invested. That's not how any part of our economy works. That's really not you should always be very skeptical of those types of claims and you shouldn't count on them. And that also applies to the crypto space where people are peddling a lot of that type of thing. But none of that means that cryptocurrency or the technology that it's built on, blockchain, are in any way pointless or foolish or the sort of province of crazy people. These are really valuable technologies, and I think we're beginning to test use cases for them and trying to figure out what's the best way to apply them. Part of the problem is when you invite more government regulation and scrutiny, we have a lot of legislators who are trying to write laws and they don't actually understand how cryptocurrency space operates. They don't understand how a lot of these things function. We have a gerontocracy filled with 70 and 80-year-olds. I'm not sure they're really super attuned to what's going on. And we see them crafting really bad regulations as a result of that.
Well, Liz, I'm 36 and I'm not sure I understand really what's going on. But I hear a lot of people saying things like, this is a Ponzi scheme. It's very suspicious and untoward that you have all of these celebrities who've never said much in the way of anything about finances suddenly going on late night shows to hawk their ape NFT.
The Matt Damon commercial.
Matt Damon commercials. And that this is why people are suspicious, that it seems like they're very affluent people who are getting into this and coming out unscathed while the proletariat is left holding the bag. What do you say to people who say this is evidence that this is in fact untoward and something akin to a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that the rich people, if they are heavily invested in it, they're not going to come out unscathed if they, give in to the panic pulling out moment that we're in. I take that criticism very seriously, though. The idea that this is a highly hyped space and that a lot of the people who are boosting it might not necessarily know what they're boosting or the implications of the technology. As I see it, I have a decent amount of crypto and I have a Coinbase account. But the thing that I'm really interested in, other than, getting richer because of my cryptocurrency, is what other uses do we have for blockchain technology? I see this as something that has potential to reduce friction in real estate transactions and within our legal system to do a better job of indicating in an unfalsifiable and very quickly verifiable way, basically using these ledgers to ensure that people's claims of ownership are legitimate. I see this as something that can really cut down a lot of the friction and the middlemen that we see within sectors like the real estate industry. So I'm interested in thinking about blockchain technology, not just as this thing that undergirds dumb Bored Ape NFT stuff. Though I understand why that's appealing to people, I don't think that's really the ultimate liberatory use of this type of thing. So when people are peddling that, you should be a little suspicious.
Well, Liz, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Al Jazeera reporter Shireen Abu Akleh was fatally shot yesterday by Israeli forces, allegedly, in the occupied West Bank during an Israeli raid. Katie Halpert will join us to discuss that. Stick around.